Yeah, so Arun just did some stats in chat. I'm going to bring Arun in now, but he says RG3 was a hurdler. Gilbert Arenas also ran a 10 300 meter. So that's some fun facts. We've got a lot to talk about in these NBA playoffs. Arun, how are you doing? I know you took the week off last week.
Not bad. Yeah, I was watching. I think the Knicks and the Pacers last, and I could only come at 10:15. So sorry about that, but
No,
glad to
you're
be on
fine.
this week.
Yeah, yeah, your volume is a little bit low, so you may have to move the mic just a
Oh,
CM.
is that better?
Yeah, much better. All right. Sounds good. All right, so we're watching a live game right now. Dallas is playing OKC. Dallas is actually up 25-18. And they've really made a series of this. A lot of people are very surprised by this. Dallas actually leads at 2-1 over an OKC that was dominant in their first round matchup. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this series?
Um, yeah, like OKC, they did sweep the first round, but I think they played the worst team in the playoffs with the Pelicans with Zion Williamson being out. So like like the Mavericks beating the Clippers in 6 games was probably more impressive. And I guess like the Thunder were a better regular season team, but it just feels like the Mavericks have a little step up in experience. They made it to the conference finals a couple of years ago. They've been in some couple game seven series. So I think the Thunder are still finding their playoff legs a bit. This is like their first real playoff series. And they also could have actually traded for Daniel Gafford, but instead they helped facilitate the trade, which got the Mavericks Daniel Gafford. And I think their lack of size is hurting them a bit. Although, like the Thunder, I won't write off the Thunder because they were the best regular season team, and SGA was an MVP candidate. But it just looks like the Mavericks have this series. Like they should have this series if they keep playing the way they're playing.
Yeah, OKC just hit a shot right as the buzzer expired for the shot clock. Right now, 17 seconds left here in this first quarter, and Dallas misses, but they're up 30-20, and we'll keep it here for the final 10 seconds of the quarter. And OKC is bringing it up the court. They're at the three-point line. A step back, and they try to dribble around. It goes up and in, but it misses. No foul called. Good defense there by Dallas. Interesting no call, but I kind of like the no call there. I know there was some contact down low, but they take a 10-point lead going into the second quarter. They're up 30-20 in that one. We also saw the Celtics earlier beat the Cavs, and we are talking about that. It was a close game down the stretch, but the Celtics were able to pull away at the very end and get a 7-point lead in that one. But the Cavaliers did make a game of it in that fourth quarter. But Jason Tatum had 33 points. And they take a 3-1 series lead. That looks like that series might be done. I mean, the Cavaliers in the first couple of games I thought played some really good basketball, but it just seems like the Celtics have found their groove. What are some of your thoughts?
Um, yeah, Donovan Mitchell, he left the game with the left calf strain, so it's a huge loss for the Cavs. And if he's out, the Cavaliers are pretty much done. And it looks like the Celtics, even though Porzingis got injured for the Celtics, like everybody else in the East, especially the Knicks, are have a lot of injuries. Even the Pacers are missing Mathurin, so it looks like the Celtics should easily get to the NBA Finals, especially if Donovan Mitchell can't go because he's like the only player. Like, I mean, they have other talented players, but if he's not there, he's kind of outplaying anybody on the Celtics as far as a points per game kind of thing. And maybe the Celtics were um, a little bit complacent because they probably should have taken care of business more if Donovan Mitchell was out. But they won the game, so they can rest easy. I guess if they'd lost, it would have been a little bit embarrassing. And they should probably win the series easily with Mitchell out.
Yeah, I realize I've never really given you a shout out on Twitch before, but A to the Ron, as he's known, Arun, is it actually plays video games, and he just started streaming a couple months ago, I think it is, on Twitch. So I saw that you do like StarCraft and some other stuff as well. So yeah, give him a follow, help him on his journey over to get affiliate. I know you need 50 followers over there. So just want to give a little shout outs for anybody who's watching or lurking. Just hit that heart button and help our good friend Arun out, who's been on this show for 7 seasons, or for 9 seasons rather. This is we've covered a wide variety of different sports over the years. I appreciate, and I've known Arun now for over 20 years. So a good friend of the show, and I appreciate all of your coverage. Let's go into the other games that we'll be seeing tomorrow. We got the Knicks and the Pacers. And the Knicks have just had a major injury bug. We've talked about it a little bit before, but the Knicks, after going up 2-0, the Pacers have stormed back and won their 2 games at home. And it really, that old adage that you really haven't lost a series until you lose a home game is coming true in this one. It's an 8 o'clock game on TNT tomorrow for a very pivotal game 5 where the Knicks are favored by 2.5. They have to win that game or I feel like they'll lose the series. But Arun, the wheels have kind of fell off in that last game. What are some of your thoughts on the series?
Yeah, I think even in game three they had a big lead, though relatively big. I think like an 8 point lead, but they blew the lead. And Nemhart, who didn't hit a three like the whole game, he made like a 28 footer. Brunson kind of struggled throughout the game. DiVincenzo had like 35 points, but he had a bad goaltending. Like the ball like hit the rim and it was gonna miss, and he blocked it, which was bad. Yeah, the injuries are terrible for the Knicks. Like they were already without Randall. I think people are criticizing Thibs for like overplaying players, and that's why they're getting injured. But two of the players that have got injured are backups who weren't playing major minutes. What Mitchell Robinson actually got injured by Embiid. Looked like he was dragged down, which probably would have been a flagrant two if it was any other player. And I think that's the reason he got injured. And Bojan Bogdanovic, he just like hurt his ankle, and he wasn't playing that many minutes. But OG Anunoby, I guess he was playing a lot of minutes, but even I think Brunson didn't play at all in the second quarter in game two, so maybe that's why he's playing a little more than normal. And injuries also just happen, as we mentioned before. Other teams have
Brunson
injuries.
also got injured in that game too, I thought, and then came back, and then they won. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's
Brunson got injured. He missed the second quarter of game two, and that's why Anunoby's minutes were a bit extended in that game.
it's
Um,
interesting because I was listening to Gilbert Arenas' podcast earlier, and he was talking about how, like, in the NBA, everyone played, 48 plus minutes back in the day, and they would tell, like, when they wanted to be subbed out, they would tell them no. Like, and now the minutes are so much less, and he thinks that injuries are happening more because of the rationing of minutes. What are some of your thoughts on some of that?
um, I don't like. I guess like I think the big thing, maybe why injuries are happening more, maybe this season, is they had the 65 game limit, so more people are playing injured throughout the season. Like even Halliburton, he played with a hamstring injury for most of the season, so he could qualify for like the All NBA rewards, which would lead to like a 20% pay increase over versus if he didn't earn those awards. So guys like Kawhi Leonard, who typically low manage, he's out with an injury. Giannis, he didn't play. Dame Lillard got injured, although maybe he's just getting older. I don't think he was playing extended minutes. So maybe back in the day, people were playing more minutes, but even I don't know, like people also got injured also back in the day. Like Gilbert Arenas, he got injured. He played a lot of minutes. Maybe that maybe that's a factor why he got injured.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a Pokemon in chat if anybody wants to catch it. It's I'll have to, oh, I missed it. So I guess he's gone. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. I was actually kind of rooting for the Knicks to win because it's like a New York team that's not really a rival of any of our teams. Like there's no real rivalry with the Wizards there. And but I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see how they do against this Pacers team. It's just they had, because I agree with you. You said that it's a lot of these backup guys that got injured, so it's not like a lot of minutes. But the problem is they're coming into the playoffs so banged up. So a lot of those people had stepped up and have been playing like bigger roles, and so it'll be interesting to see. They're just running out of bodies.
Yeah, and they're giving injuries to like a kind of bad position, like all their power forwards or all the people that play forward, like Bogdanovich, Anunoby. Like those are their two top four. Like I don't think most teams that their second and third best players or would not like be even in contention. Maybe the Celtics, but
Yeah.
the Nuggets would definitely be like without Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon, it would be probably they wouldn't be competing with the Timberwolves right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's part of the playoffs. We were talking about that in the NHL side, earlier, but injuries play such a factor in it, because you do need all five positions. But it's sort of weird in the NBA because you can so rely on superstars to put up big numbers in a way that, you know, like LeBron could put up 30 to 40 any night in a way that like it's not every goal scorer can score every night, like it's not like
Yeah, that's the other thing. Brunson's also he's kind of banged up too now. Like
yeah.
people want to say like,
And that's a
oh, like
big problem because they're relying on him for like 40 points, like so
yeah,
that's
I think he's like taking 27 shots per game or something crazy. So and like not many people like it's only like Michael Jordan or people like that take that many shots. And if he's not 100%, then like and also Josh Hart, he's like kind of cooled off from 3 point range. But the Knicks, I wouldn't say like they play a lot better at home too. So like there's some of their role players might show up and maybe the officiating. I think it's swung back and forth based on the home kind of who's at home. I don't think it's like rigged or anything, but just think that's like it's natural kind of in the NBA for that to happen.
yeah, for sure. And it's funny because the other series that we're going to talk about real quick, the opposite kind of happened where, Denver was clearly the better team. They've been one of the best teams in the league over the last couple of years, multiple time, MVP, on their team. And they were dominated by the Timberwolves in the first two games. Like I was shocked by this. It wasn't even like close in some of these. Yeah. And then the flip side happens. It goes back to Minnesota, and you think, man, all they have to do is win one of these next two home games, and they've got that commanding 3-1 series, lead, and the Nuggets come back and take them both. So this next game in Denver, I kind of expect Denver to win because they're rolling with momentum now, but I was surprised the Timberwolves won the first two there. So who knows? But Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this wild series?
Oh yeah, like game one was kind of close and like it was like Nas Reed caught on fire or something, so it's come kind of random. But the Timberwolves won game one, but game two was pretty shocking to me in the matter. Just not like that the Timberwolves won, but they just like dominated because Rudy Gobert missed the game and he won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
Now,
they're up 30 points without the defensive player of the year.
yeah.
It's
So I
wild.
think the Nuggets they kind of weren't expected to be like hounded and they were complaining a lot with the officials, but I didn't really see what they were complaining about, especially Jamal Murray, who threw like a towel and a heat pack onto the court, and
I
he
like that he,
definitely should have been suspended, but they didn't suspend him probably only because the Nuggets were down 0-2.
yeah,
So
well, they had suspended him, I think, that the whole series show. So you're right. I hate how stars get that treatment, but it was also kind of funny because he like threw it so poorly it didn't even get on the court, like,
yeah, yeah. But one of them, it's just like one of the towel didn't get onto the court, but the heat pack did.
mhm.
But it was just kind of like
But it was like during a timeout though, right? Like it wasn't
no,
like
no, it was
during.
while they were playing. So somebody, like even his like own teammate, could have like stepped on it, or Carl or ref.
Oh, okay. I
He
thought it
threw at
was
the
yeah.
official, so it was kind of like pretty blatant. And then the towel, they didn't see the towel because the ball boy picked up the towel like immediately, but then he threw the heat pack. But then it was like it's kind of like Patrick Beverley did last a couple like shortly before that, threw the basketball twice into the stand. So I guess he got inspiration from Patrick Beverley. And Reggie Jackson also left the game with like he was walking off of like 1 foot or hopping, and he's like, and then he comes back and he doesn't like miss a shot in game four, or so it's kind of like crazy that they're like taking some weird like medicine or something because some of these guys are just like even Jamal Murray looks like completely different from game two to game three.
Wow, a big time dunk right there for Dallas. 40, they're up 40 to 32 and in a close back and forth game right here in the second quarter. 7:43 left in this first half. It's been an exciting game. Dallas is, they're just going blow for blow, right? And this is kind of what you hope for in this series. A missed shot there, but they got their own rebound. And OKC for three, it misses. Dallas comes away with the rebound there. And yeah, interesting. It's yeah, a bunch of misses here. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how both of these series go. So, what are your thoughts on you think the Mavericks will hold on here and get the win, or do you think OKC has a strong second half?
Um, right now, it just feels like the Mavericks. I think they have the advantage right now. Like, I mean, things can change obviously in the NBA, but like they just look a little bit like Jalen Williams. He kind of doesn't look like he's playing at the same level as he was prior. He was leading the fourth quarter for the Thunder in scoring. He hasn't really gotten it together. Who knows though? But I think Dallas. I think Dallas should win this series. Like just based on what's happening the last since game two, they seem to have made a lot of adjustments. And Luca looked like he was injured, but maybe he's just pretending to be injured because when he hits a three, he's like moving at full speed on offense.
Yeah. It's just so surprising. OKC looks so dominant, but again, I think you're right. I think sometimes and we talked about this a little bit in the hockey playoffs that you kind of have to play a different game against different teams, right? That's why these series are so hard to win because you have to win four games against, four different teams each, and you're gonna have to, change your game plan a little bit. Like I know that you kind of stick a little bit more to it in basketball, than you do in hockey, but like it's still like how your role players act and the fact that Dallas is up seven right now and Kyrie isn't even having, that great of a game, um, is interesting. He has two fouls
Yeah,
and so
Jalen Williams. He's just missed. I'm a little bit ahead of you. I think he just missed a layup. So
yeah. Oh no, but just by like 2 seconds. So yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting to see. I think that Dallas is doing a good job, just sort of sticking with the game plan and playing within themselves, right? And right now, the Thunder just look a little bit rattled, to be totally honest. So yeah,
yeah,
so
Jason Kidd seems like he's making, and people have criticized him, but he seems to be out coaching the Thunder's head coach right now. But we'll see if that changes though.
yeah. So do you think the Knicks pull it out and win Game 5 in the series, or what are your thoughts on the Knicks Pacers series overall?
Uh, I don't know. Like before I thought the Knicks were going to win, but now with OG and out, it's become like a 50-50 kind of series. The only reason if it
Is
was
he out
there
for
was
the
no
whole
home court,
series, or will he maybe come back in this next game?
um, if he comes back, then I think the Knicks win. If he doesn't come back, it's like more of like a 50-50 kind of deal. I feel like
Yeah,
because
I'm
they have
not even
like
sure
a
it's
20 and
50-50.
five
I actually
record when
think
he plays.
I think the Pacers might win the next two if he doesn't come back, to be totally honest. I think that he's such a difference maker.
Yeah,
Uh,
only they just have home court, which is probably their only like saving thing. And I guess like the games are been officiated at home differently than they've been on the road.
yeah. And so, did we come up with the final thoughts on this Timberwolves Nuggets? I feel like this series is so hard to predict because it's like which teams are going to show up. But
I guess like this series is like swinging back and forth. Like recency bias says that the Nuggets are going to win, but it wouldn't really surprise me if the Timberwolves won the game. And this is like all the road teams win, but for now the Nuggets are favored. But I'm not going to overreact because like even when the Timberwolves are up 2-0, I wasn't willing to completely write off the Nuggets because they have come back from 3-1 twice in the bubble year. So and it just felt like also the Timberwolves crowd is kind of like felt like they're waiting for a choke or something. I don't know, like they're very quiet, relatively quiet. What when they didn't seem to get their team going or whatever. They just seem very nervous.
I mean, I feel like the Nuggets make everyone nervous, like because you've got the MVP on their team, and I don't know, it's just they're such a dangerous team, and the fact that they are the defending champions, and they're on the verge of creating a dynasty, if they can keep it up, and so I feel like anyway. But I was just so
Yeah, that's really a little bit delusional. Like the Knicks fans, I guess they always think they are gonna win, even though they have like sometimes like when they played like those Miami teams with LeBron, they were like cheering super hard. But that's
Yeah.
I guess the Timberwolves like they just came out kind of flat. They didn't give their like even when they were playing well, like Anthony Edwards had like 40 plus points. It just felt like very quiet. Like whenever the Nuggets are on offense, they're like, yeah, they're probably going to score.
It's
You're
interesting.
probably
I feel like
right.
some teams get a little nervous when they're playing in front of their home crowd and like the expectation to win. Like they were already up 2-0. And like so I felt like in some ways the pressure was on them to try to be like, hey,
Yeah, it
there's
felt like a
Woods.
coronation, and they were not like fulfilling the coronation, I guess.
Yes, yes, exactly. So things weren't going right, it sort of fell off. The wheels fell off pretty quick, you know. So it'll be interesting to see now that it's 2-2 going back to the Nuggets if they've now found themselves, or if now the pressure that they're supposed to be the best team gets back on them, and the Timberwolves, remember what they did, and try to emulate, especially if they can come back to do what they did in game two, right? If they could find that team again, they're a tough team to beat.
It's like the Nats Astros series where all the road teams won every game.
Exactly, exactly. All right. Well, I think we've gone through all the series. Any final thoughts before we bring in Champ?
Just shout out to the Wizards. They finally won the number lottery and got the number 2 pick. But everyone's saying that this draft, like some people are saying it's like getting like the number 1 pick's like getting like the number 1 7 pick in this
Yeah,
draft. Some people are saying it's like getting like the number 10 pick or something. So it seems like a weak draft as far as identifying top guys. So it's
I
kind of
was
like
looking
that
at
year with like
at
the number
who's
1 pick.
draftable, like who people are expecting to be in the top five. It's tough because the best player on the board is a shooting guard, but from Kansas, or is it Kentucky?
Dillingham's like the fourth or third, or I don't even know. They're like all like mixed up together. Reed Shepard, also Kentucky. So I don't know. He's in the
Yeah,
top
I've
like
read a
2 to
lot of
10.
different things. There's also that one guy who's like 6'11" who's got that wingspan. I kind
Yeah,
of
like one of the center. The Hawks are probably going to take the center. Although I don't know what they're going to do because they could trade Trey Young or they could try to trade the number 1 pick for veteran help. But as I mentioned, nobody really wants the number 1 pick that much in this year's draft. And some people were speculating even before that it's better to get the number 6 pick versus the number 1 pick because you have like a lower cap hit. So I was like, that's like, but
I
we'll
do
see.
wonder if the Wizards end
He,
up trading
yeah,
it
he drafted
back.
for a while, so he's good at drafting. Hopefully, he drafts somebody well.
Do you think that they should go with the number two, or you think that they should trade back then?
Um, I think the ideal thing was if they just like trade out completely and get like a first round pick in next year's draft kind of thing. But I don't know that like the scouting group they could pick up like this other French guy is like 6'9", Rissachar, I think, to get I don't know how to pronounce his name exactly, but they might take him and have the French connection. At least Bilal Koulibaly wants them to take him. There's also this guy Topic from Serbia, 6'6", shooting guard. So they might go international, building the Tommy Shepard all international team. But it's just like they already have Denny and Koulibaly, but I don't think you can really stop drafting position. They just got to take the best player available, and they'll probably be a bottom team next year. Next year's draft's supposed to be much better.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's such a weird night. We're watching Kuzi and hockey, have highlights, and then now we've got Daniel Gafford here. Yeah, so we've had ex Caps and ex Wizards that were moved this season, um, playing well and in the playoffs and in the second round. So it's a weird dynamic on the show tonight. But Arun, thank you again for joining us, and once again, shout out to Arun, and to give him a follow if you're lurking or listening here. I'd really appreciate that as we help him on his affiliate journey. And thank you, Arun, for coming on and talking. Maybe we'll have you back on next week. I think Tim and possibly Davey is eating a sandwich will be joining us to talk about these rounds and previewing the conference finals. Because I believe that all the um yeah, so I think game seven. So there might be a game seven between the Mavericks and the Thunder if it goes the distance next Monday. But if not, then all the series should be done by then. But Arun, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. Well, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, later.
All right. And with that, I'm going to bring in DC's People's Champ. And